So the current situation, as we know, with quite a lot of pollution, is really harming people, it's harming the economy. If you have an environment that makes you sick, compliance doesn't get best achieved by simply whacking people over the head. It's much better done by a carrot than a stick approach. They have to have real incentives to change. Okay, well, thank you. My name is Bob Fox. I'm not the chair of the Joint Foreign Chambers of Commerce, but I'm one of the committee chairs, and I work in the Sustainable Development Committee where this is being worked. The Joint Foreign Chambers of Commerce has been serving the Thailand business community for 50 years now this year, and has always taken a great interest in economic betterment, quality of life, and investment attractiveness, skills development, and these sort of things. So I think the positioning of the Joint Foreign Chambers is well aligned with global and local norms about good business practices, environment, health, et cetera, et cetera. So as far as the clean air legislation is concerned, we took a great interest some years ago and did quite a detailed submission. For the current situation, we have issued a statement of encouragement, which really says that there are great benefits in having effective clean air legislation implemented within a reasonable time. So we recognize that the current situation and the current legal framework in relation to clean air is not going to get us there. So we need to have something that is going to provide for a kind of clean air regime which has a solid regulatory overview, as well as the buy-in and support from all communities, that is the business community, government, civil society, etc. And to make that work, it does need a good legal framework. So therefore, our view has come from looking at things like investment attractiveness, effectiveness of work environments, the economic benefit of Thailand. And when we consider OECD accession, these things are very important, as well as treaties like the EU-Thailand FTA. It will be important to have environments where investment and trade are very attractive propositions. So the current situation, as we know, with quite a lot of pollution, is really harming people, it's harming the economy. We know, of course, that it's not just all about transboundary haze, that there are domestic practices which include agriculture. So it's no easy task to simply say this should be done. There are reforms needed, both in terms of how clean air is managed, how practices are done in terms of polluting sectors and, agriculture as well. It's not for foreigners to come and tell people how to do things. That's absolutely not what we do. We try to engage in constructive dialogue and make recommendations about the way we see things going in a way that would better the economy, better the things that I've referred to. Thank you. So in any work environment, people may be working indoors, they may be working outdoors, they may be transferring between the two different environments, or they may be moving around. But if you work in an unpleasant work environment for all sorts of reasons, and there are various ways where a work environment can be unpleasant, but one of them is about pollution. And if you have an environment that makes you sick, where you have to take sick days, where you're not functioning very well because the environment has made you feel bad, where it's just not good for your health to be working in that place because it's going to shorten your lifespan or, make you less healthy generally, then that is bad for business. We always look at, particularly say for SMEs where they typically don't have budgets to make big changes. They don't have budgets to invest in big programs to change things. And so SMEs need not only support and help, but they also need to be able to rely on across the board external factors about the environment that are going to help their businesses. Let me not go to the draft law immediately and look at the concept of introducing new regimes, if you like. So good examples in Thailand and other places are the Personal Data Protection Act. But when it came in, the PDPC, which is the administrator of it, did not make severe prosecutions and things immediately. They said there needs to be an education period They did light touch administrative fines, and they didn't get to heavy criminal penalties or heavy administrative fines until much later. They gave people a chance to learn and to understand how to do things, and that's important. Compliance doesn't get best achieved by simply whacking people over the head. It's much better done by a carrot than a stick approach. Okay, so that's one example. The EU CBAM is another example where there's a phased-in approach. Another example is the SET plans for reporting on Scope 3. So Scope 3 is difficult to report on. Yes, it's a big part of total emissions, but there's a 5-year sort of moratorium on doing Scope 3. So you have to do Scope 1 and 2 soon and then Scope 3 later. All this public administration is based on the idea that business communities, the economy needs to learn and needs to know how to change and needs to be supported. So in all these things, just as in the climate change law, which is a very, very comprehensive, complex law, there is a fund in that called the Climate Fund, and part of that's going to be used to help companies transition. And this is where, for example, SMEs come in. The draft Clean Air Act has an idea of a fund, and part of the use of that fund would also be to help companies transition where they need it. So we have to look at principles where you allocate the cost of supporting those things. And some people don't like it, but polluter pays principle is one that says you give people a chance to comply, give them incentives to reduce pollution and real alternatives to engaging in current polluting practices. That's the point. They have to have real incentives to change. And then if they're not willing to do that, then you might look at, fines and polluter pays principles. The concept of carbon tax, climate and clean air are different concepts, but nevertheless, these ideas are very similar, where you can encourage the change and support it.